he's like a TikTok with the receipts, read every single line of it like I did. And he put in part this like 9-part series, which is amazing work done, doing a deep dive on what exactly was in Justin Baldoni's case that made him turn and realize that Blake Lively was not telling the truth and that it was going to be a very steep climb for them. Should we now begin feeling bad for Blake Lively because she appeared at her Simple Favor 2 premiere and people are noting that she seems increasingly uncomfortable and anxious, and maybe it really is just a lot for her to deal with. So we should discuss that. Should we be more compassionate toward Blake Lively? Let's jump right into this. Welcome back to Candace.
Nick Lachey, a figure known for a scandal-free career, recently stumbled, a minor misstep in the grand scheme, quickly and rightfully atoned for with an apology. Contrast this with the unfolding catastrophe of Blake Lively, where apologies are absent, and instead, a full-blown Hollywood implosion is playing out in real time. As one astute observer noted, "Read every single line of it like I did," referring to the meticulous, receipt-laden case meticulously built against Lively, a 9-part series exposing the depths of her alleged deception. The question now isn't just about the lawsuit. It's about the seismic shift in public and industry perception, leaving many to wonder, should we, amidst the unfolding drama, feel even a sliver of sympathy for Blake Lively? Her recent appearance at the A Simple Favor 2 Inches premiere offered a stark visual contrast to the carefully curated image of Hollywood glamour she once effortlessly projected. Observers noted a palpable unease, a visible anxiety clinging to her like an ill-fitting garment. Is this merely the weight of a public relations nightmare? The crushing pressure of a career teetering on the brink? Or is it something deeper? A crack in the facade revealing a woman fundamentally unprepared for the consequences of her own actions? The debate rages, compassion or condemnation? As we delve deeper into the unraveling of Blake Lively, the answer, if it exists at all, becomes increasingly complex, increasingly unsettling.
He got a very strong tip from somebody regarding Jenny Slate potentially being brought into the suit.
Robert Downey Jr., a figure synonymous with Hollywood royalty and a career resurrection story for the ages, had, according to the rapidly spreading whispers, dropped evidence so damaging that everyone in Hollywood is on high alert. The specifics remained shrouded in rumor and speculation, but the implication was clear. RDJ, with his unparalleled industry clout and reputation for unwavering integrity, had unveiled something that fundamentally undermined Blake Lively's carefully constructed narrative. Hollywood, a town perpetually teetering on the edge of scandal, held its breath, bracing for the fallout. Blake Lively, a woman who seemingly craved the spotlight, who positioned herself as a prominent fixture in the Hollywood landscape, now found herself engulfed in a maelstrom of negative attention. Blake cannot handle these revelations, the narrative declared, emphasizing her alleged fragility, her inability to withstand the pressure of public scrutiny. The irony was palpable. The actress who so expertly cultivated fame and adoration was now, according to the whispers, crumbling under its weight, unable to navigate the very currents of public opinion she had so meticulously attempted to control.
I think at this point, Lively's team very strongly believes that if they're able to add more women officially to the lawsuit, that the claims will look more legitimate. But at this point, I don't think Jenny Slate or anyone else on the cast really wants to jump aboard the Plantation Khaleesi's yacht that seems to be sinking rather quickly.
Blake Lively wants to be prominently featured, and then she gets herself into this huge situation. The commentary continued, highlighting the perceived, self-inflicted nature of her predicament. The lawsuit, the allegations, the public backlash all, according to this perspective, were the direct consequence of her own ambition, her own relentless pursuit of fame and control. Worldwide, she is sort of despised alongside her husband. The narrative intensified, painting a picture of global condemnation, a widespread rejection of the Reynolds Lively brand. And now you've got to recognize that this movie is probably not going to do so well, the commentary ominously predicted, extending the fallout beyond mere reputation damage to tangible career consequences. The shadow of the lawsuit, the stain of public disapproval, threatened to taint not only their personal brands, but also their professional endeavors. Screaming tears, the entire spectacle caught on camera. The whispers intensified, painting a vivid, almost cinematic picture of Lively's alleged meltdown, a public unraveling captured for posterity, fueling the insatiable appetite for Hollywood drama.
Social media companies are not here to investigate, they're not here to be judges and lawyers, but having a lawyer email you on behalf of a client, and if it's an A-list client saying like, we're gonna come after you, TikTok, for allowing this defamation to exist on the platform.
The motive behind Blake's alleged meltdown, according to the narrative, was stark and unflattering. Greed and envy. Her relentless craving for fame and wealth, coupled with her hatred of anyone sharing the spotlight, finally shattered the false control she tried to maintain. This wasn't just about a lawsuit. It was about the unmasking of a carefully constructed persona, the exposure of a woman whose ambition, according to this perspective, had spiraled into unchecked avarice and resentment. So what did RDJ uncover? How extreme were Blake's efforts to cling to her fake image? And what happens when a pretender finally faces undeniable proof? The questions hung in the air, rhetorical yet potent, fueling the insatiable curiosity surrounding the unfolding drama. The implication was clear. Robert Downey Jr.'s alleged receipts were not just damaging, they were revelatory, peeling back the layers of Blake Lively's carefully constructed illusion, exposing the pretender beneath.
Hey, if you want like something that you should be looking into and potentially this could happen, you should be subpoenaing TikTok, because if her entire argument is that Justin Baldoni and the Wayfarer team manipulated the press and she's doing the exact same thing right now.
Brace yourselves, the commentary warned, as if preparing the audience for a shocking revelation. She didn't come out and make a statement. She didn't come out, with her heart in her hand or say anything. Lively's silence, her apparent refusal to address the allegations directly, was interpreted not as stoicism or strategic silence, but as a tacit admission of guilt, a desperate attempt to allow this movie to be like an innocent bystander to everything that went on with It Ends With Us. This showdown is set to reveal how truly manipulative Blake Lively can be, the narrative declared, solidifying the central accusation, transforming the lawsuit from a legal dispute into a morality play. A public reckoning with a woman accused of masterminding a campaign of deception and manipulation. For the longest time, Blake projected a curated image, acting like everything was on her terms. The commentary continued, highlighting the perceived artificiality of her public persona, the carefully constructed illusion of effortless control.
She's upset about TikTokers coming out with information or believing that TikTokers are leaking information. Well, then that kind of defeats her own argument.
But once a judge delivered a brutal ruling against her, her tangled web of lies started falling apart. The judge's decision, whatever its specific legal nuances, became the symbolic turning point. The moment when Blake Lively's carefully constructed facade began to crumble, exposing the tangled web of lies beneath. People are calling her the engineer of her own disaster, the narrative declared, emphasizing the perceived self-inflicted nature of her downfall. The tragic irony of a woman whose relentless pursuit of control ultimately led to her own unraveling. When the judge dismissed a key component in Blake's argument, stating there was no legal basis for her overblown claims, it sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. The judge's ruling, according to this interpretation, was not just a legal setback. It was a public repudiation, a judicial dismantling of Blake Lively's carefully constructed narrative, sending tremors of unease and reevaluation throughout the notoriously fickle landscape of Hollywood.
Blake Blake's trying to threaten. If the judge stops them, they're going to get in trouble and they're not allowed to release them. But the idea that Blake's trying so hard to stop them, to me, raises massive red flags.
Even worse for her is the jury instruction, the commentary ominously noted, highlighting a potentially devastating legal vulnerability. If jurors find she's lying about one point, they can disregard everything else she says. The specter of jury distrust loomed large, a chilling reminder of the high stakes involved. Jurors despise dishonesty, the narrative emphasized, underscoring the potential for a complete and utter collapse of Blake Lively's legal defense, if even a single thread of deception were to be perceived by the jury. If they decide she's false on any major detail, Her testimony goes in the trash. The consequences were stark, unforgiving. For a control freak like Blake, the prospect of losing control of the narrative in a courtroom setting, of having her carefully crafted testimony dismissed as fabrication, was, according to the commentary, catastrophic. Naturally, she erupted with fury, the narrative declared, depicting a volcanic outburst, a primal scream against the walls closing in.
You mean the truth coming out? Is how I read that. Because again, what are you afraid of? Like, let's let it all out. Let's put it all out there.
Sources say she threw tantrum after tantrum, turning on everyone involved. The image of Blake Lively in meltdown mode intensified, transforming from quiet unease to explosive rage. She believed she could force her own rules on the process, but she was dead wrong. Her perceived arrogance, her unwavering belief in her own ability to manipulate any situation, had, according to this interpretation, finally collided with the unyielding force of legal reality. Instead of adapting, she just flew off the handle. Her inability to adjust, to pivot, to acknowledge the shifting tides of public and legal opinion was, according to the commentary, a fatal flaw, a self-destructive rigidity that only served to amplify her downfall. Insiders claim she acted like a privileged brat, demanding special treatment and whining that Justin Baldoni's side had the advantage. The unflattering portrait of Blake Lively intensified, depicting her as entitled, petulant, and utterly out of touch with the gravity of her situation.
Mr. Freeman issued additional inflammatory content to tabloid medias. You mean responses? You mean they filed responses to your gag order? Okay, they responded to people who were asking him for comment about the gag order.
The judge refused to indulge her tantrums. The courtroom, a space governed by rules and evidence, offered no quarter for Hollywood theatrics or celebrity entitlement. For months, Blake had been executing PR stunts, trying to brand herself as the innocent party while painting Baldoni as the aggressor. Her carefully orchestrated PR campaign, once seemingly effective, now appeared transparent, desperate, and ultimately futile in the face of mounting legal and public scrutiny. Early on, some people fell for it because she's an expert at playing sincere on camera. Her carefully cultivated image of sincerity, her ability to project an aura of trustworthiness and authenticity had, according to the commentary, initially swayed public opinion. But as the real details emerged, her claims started to look shaky. The veneer of sincerity began to crack, revealing the alleged deception beneath, as the weight of evidence and contradictory narratives began to erode her carefully constructed facade.
And they are livid about that video and showing that Blake's not being honest in the way she told her story. It does not help victims at all. And I think she knows that. And I think she knows a lot of this other video text evidence that's gonna come out.
Closer inspection revealed plenty of deception. Courtrooms don't cater to fake narratives. The stark reality of the legal system, its unwavering focus on facts and evidence, stood in stark contrast to the carefully crafted narratives of Hollywood PR. So this was actually a very major thing to say that there's some party of the suit that has not been named yet, the commentary noted, highlighting a further legal complication, a potential expansion of the lawsuit, further tightening the noose around Blake Lively's already precarious position. When the judge obliterated Blake's central point, it exposed how shallow her arguments were. The judge's ruling, in its legal precision and unwavering focus on factual evidence, effectively dismantled the core of Blake Lively's defense, revealing the alleged hollowness, the lack of substance, beneath her carefully constructed narrative. All her so-called proof looked like guesswork or outright manipulation. Her attempts to present evidence, to bolster her claims, were, according to this interpretation, exposed as either flimsy speculation or deliberate fabrication, further solidifying the narrative of deception and manipulation. The moment that ruling hit, a massive backlash followed. People began asking, what is Blake really hiding?
If it's all as you say, why are you trying to block it? Her response to that video, mind you, was this. So thankful for the video. This proves that she was uncomfortable in everything that she's saying.
Listen, I know this is going to sound crazy, but everything that I'm reading here points to the fact that Blake Lively manipulated her audiences and lied to her audiences. The accusation was stark, unequivocal, a damning indictment of Blake Lively's entire public persona. Social media exploded with skepticism. The narrative continued, depicting a digital uprising, a collective rejection of the once adored actress. Even her fans, longtime defenders, were unsettled. The erosion of her support base was palpable, even her most loyal followers now questioning her authenticity, her integrity, her very character. Legal experts discussing the decision on talk shows delivered a unified verdict. It's not looking good for Blake. Professional opinions aligned with public sentiment, the legal prognosis bleak, the PR disaster escalating. Insiders said if they were advising her, they'd cut losses and settle immediately. The industry consensus was clear. Damage control was no longer an option. The only viable path forward was damage mitigation, a desperate attempt to salvage what little remained of her reputation and career. The situation is not just legally grim, it's a PR nightmare. The two spheres, legal and public perception, were converging, creating a perfect storm of negative consequences for Blake Lively.
Blake Lively wants to be prominently featured, and then she gets herself into this huge situation worldwide. She is sort of despised alongside her husband. And now you've got to recognize that this movie's probably not going to do so well.
And I'm kind of shocked as someone who fully believed her, one commentator confessed, highlighting the pervasive sense of betrayal, the profound disillusionment felt by those who had once championed her. He did. He's just basically as psychotic as me, the commentator continued, referencing Justin Baldoni's meticulous and detailed response, a response that, in its very thoroughness, further undermined Blake Lively's credibility, casting her narrative as not just deceptive, but demonstrably false. Blake's meltdown alone revealed her manipulative nature. Even neutral observers compared her unhinged outburst to Baldoni's calm, straightforward approach. And the contrast couldn't be more damning. Witnesses describe Blake's behavior as more than frustration, it's outright rage. She screamed at anyone who crossed her path, and the meltdown obliterated any illusion she tried to maintain for the cameras. Experts warned that video evidence of her tirades could haunt her at trial. Jurors see through performative apologies or crocodile tears. They aren't easily fooled. Public opinion turned on her as soon as the judge's decision dropped. People had heard rumors she was calculating behind the scenes, but now they had proof of her manipulative tactics.
Make that decision, since you chose to make this a public battle by getting the New York Times involved, by posting text messages, which you absolutely edited. Let's make it clear again, Blake Lively team.
This verdict raised questions about her honesty and the extremes she'd go to for control. Many concluded she's been playing everyone for her own benefit. The judgment was swift, unforgiving. Blake Lively, once lauded for her charm and relatability, was now condemned as a manipulative actress, a calculated performer playing a role for her own self-serving agenda. Suddenly, the actor who dominated headlines with phony narratives found herself drowning in criticism. Making matters worse, Blake's social media numbers started nosediving at a shocking rate. Every day, more followers jumped ship, refusing to be associated with her toxic brand. Posts that once attracted mindless praise now swarmed with doubts and scorn. Meanwhile, Baldoni gained a wave of new supporters. People who barely noticed him before sided with him, drawn by his measured and genuine style. Even conservative commentators like Candace Owens and Meghan McCain publicly backed him, signaling that many different groups saw Blake as the main villain. Across Hollywood, producers and directors are distancing themselves. They see her as nothing but trouble, someone who can't keep a handle on her temper, brings endless drama, and drives fans away.
You pick and chose which messages you took out immense context, removed emojis, making it clear that they weren't actually involved, they were speaking sarcastically.
The meltdown underlined this perception, further damaging her already shaky reputation. No studio wants to gamble on an unhinged star who threatens a project's profitability. Industry rumors about Blake's domineering personality only inflame the situation. People talk about how she wanted total control over every detail. Scripts, costumes, marketing, you name it. That attitude, once merely annoying, is now toxic. Why hire someone who micromanages every step and then spirals into a meltdown the minute she's challenged? Even her inner circle's attempts to push a positive spin have fallen flat. She's become a liability they can't salvage. Some believe Blake and Ryan Reynolds should negotiate a settlement and disappear from the spotlight, but it won't undo the damage. Hollywood judges reputations harshly and moves on quickly. Her obsessive behavior is no small slip-up. It's an ongoing pattern of deceit that's finally too big to ignore. People outside and inside Hollywood see the truth. Blake spent years crushing negative narratives, enforcing only favorable stories into the media. She's tried to stifle any talk that didn't align with her version of events. But this legal showdown, combined with the judge's scathing dismissal, exposed her heavy-handed strategies.
This is what you hired me for was not in response to it was done clearly with the intent of, oh my God, I can't even control the amount of press that people are now using on their own organically to hate on her based on her own actions, not anything they did.
Now everyone feels justified in digging deeper, and the findings confirm her manipulative streak. Meanwhile, top-level marketers and PR experts want nothing to do with her. They recognize a sinking ship. Blake has proved she can't handle pressure without lashing out. Her attempts at damage control are transparent and desperate. As fans continue unfollowing, it's clear there's no easy turnaround. Studios don't want a star who drags them into controversy with zero return on investment. Hollywood insiders have whispered for years that she's insufferable. Maybe people were too afraid to speak publicly, or maybe they were waiting for her to implode on her own. Either way, nobody's leaping to save her now. Instead, more horror stories about her demands and manipulations are coming to light, painting a vivid picture of someone who'd do anything to stay on top. This lawsuit between Blake and Baldoni quickly morphed into a sprawling scandal. Allegations of defamation, shady tactics, and endless PR strategies overshadow any attempt by Blake to pretend she's the real victim.
You remove all this context in your lawsuit with these text messages, but now Justin has to just sit with his tail between his legs and wait?
Students will watch clips of her outraged outbursts, read transcripts of her contradictory statements, and realize how quickly a carefully curated public image can disintegrate. The morale is simple. You can't brute force your way through factual contradictions. If you rely on deception and intimidation for long enough, reality eventually wins in the end. There's no indication Blake plans to cut her losses and walk away quietly. She still posts occasional rants online, bashing those she claims are out to get her. Each time she does, the public's reaction is swift and brutal. Thousands of comments reminding her about the court documents, the meltdown footage, and the failure to back up her accusations with tangible proof. It's an endless cycle of denial on her part, and each attempt at damage control only digs her deeper into the hole she created. Blake Lively's Hollywood fairy tale, once shimmering with promise and seemingly unbreakable charm, has devolved into a stark cautionary tale. Her downfall, a self-orchestrated symphony of missteps and miscalculations, serves as a brutal reminder of the industry's unforgiving nature. In a town built on image and perception, authenticity, or at least the appearance of it, reigns supreme. Lively's alleged manipulation, her perceived arrogance, and her explosive meltdown have shattered the carefully crafted illusion, leaving behind a wreckage of broken trust and tarnished reputation. As the dust settles and the spotlight shifts, one question lingers, echoing in the digital canyons of the internet and the hushed whispers of Hollywood backlots. In the ruthless arena of fame, is redemption ever truly possible? Or has Blake Lively irrevocably sealed her own cinematic fate, forever branded as the star who dared to believe her own fabricated narrative, only to watch it all, spectacularly, crumble to dust? What do you think? Let the conversation begin in the comments below. And for more in-depth analyses of Hollywood's most captivating dramas, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. The truth, as they say, is often stranger and certainly more captivating than fiction.